Hey, Laura J. on my way home from home. And so I am now passing by Diamond and Diamond as the brand I go by. As I listen to a tarot reading, which is my not guilty pleasure that I indulge in because I appreciate the way what comes out shows up in my environment as it's happening, as reinforcement for the story with the signs, symbols, and omens in my environment. And one of the messages that came through that was so significant is that black magic is manipulating the will of another for your own purpose or gain. And so when we actually think about alchemy and we think about manipulation as the way that alchemy and magic and what is great then becomes tainted with the ask that came underneath of the ask, the subliminal need for energy that comes from a vampiric space, a parasitic space where you have two sites, parasites. You've got parasites which now have two entities feeding instead of just the main. Now you have subsets within the main. And this is where we start to understand why categories is so significant and why Aristotle's coined it in categories, which he wrote around the time that Western society was being formed, which was at the time that the Gregorian calendar was launched and replaced the Julius Caesar calendar, which was the times that were wrote about in the companion manual to the Justinian Codex that was codified by Julius Caesar's great-nephew and adopted heir apparent, from what I understand, Justinian. So Justinian took all of the laws of the land and then codified them, put them all into one book and put it into his own name to name it after himself as the brand that then was wielded and carried on and still continues and perpetuated within the legal system that is upheld by that very codex and the companion manual that has charged forwards. There's a charger going in the lane opposite me. And so this is where the equestrians of the horsemen come in, who were the noblemen, noble about it, which is where the bull is, of the seals put onto official religious documents goes. And the stamp is placed. And then we start to see how everything has been lining up to help us understand that it is all a battle for quarters. Hung, drawn, and quartered in the corners of our territory, which are people, places, and things. I brought quarters in because I saw a 25th anniversary, and in my head I equated what that might mean in terms of the story that I was telling you in that moment, which I'm quite impressed by how it lined up, which is why I share it with you, to be honest. And when you say to be honest, did you ever notice that people then might question what wasn't true that you said before you said just being honest? To be honest? Bob's was my papa. Jody. I think of Ledgerwood. She has been a big voice within the freedom movement and persecuted for it, and she has been doing her own thing her own way, but she's come out to play at a few events that I've done. And I appreciate her for that. That I put on. She came all the way down to Port Dover for a peer support on the Pier experience in February or January. It was cold. We came down and police officers, men acting as such things, came to record what we were doing just to make sure, because it was put onto the internet in a public space, that we were going to be gathering, despite the fact you weren't supposed to be. But I said, no, this is Everest. We're going to keep doing that which is required, which is build community. We need to come together. We need to know who one another are. We go by a cattle or pig slaughter house transportation, it's pigs. I'm so sorry. They are more akin to us than what we realize, and yet we love the bacon and meat that comes off of them because we've been primed for it. Maritime, Ontario, for whatever reason, the east comes to mind, which then I think of first the east coast of Canada, for it is the province that is the territory that marks the space that I call home. Armour goes by there, and Justice. That looked like Justice, it might have been, except for the J of the hook, which is actually connected to the Egyptian tool that was used to actually pull out the pineal gland and amygdala, I do believe, of the bodies. Before they were embalmed, they, I do believe, removed the amygdala and pineal gland. And maybe even the pituitary gland as well, which I believe is the one that produces hormones. Which is why we need to understand that if we don't understand these things that get taken out before the embalming process takes place, we're going to be like the pigs that are comfortably being transported to the slaughterhouse. And amidst people that don't care, even though we know where they're going. All of those souls aboard that truck, we know that they are at a crossroads express from Elmer, where the Church of God exists, and the community around that actually was connected Jaguar speed train. And then there was a box that had forgot to look up with a little Simba, and there was a dot in the center around these 4 twigs or sticks that outlaid one another. And then Simba, Jeebus. Oh, Jeebus. Why do you think Jesus is an eye shy of Je suis en français, which would be I am if we look out to him instead of within? We will fail to find what we came here to share. Do you dare go looking for that which lies in you? Nobody knew it was there till you found it. And when you did, you got to be the one who thinks of the $5 that I found while I was doing the trash. Somebody accidentally threw away good money because even though it's a fiat currency, the fiats that say the currency we're selling on does take cash in Canadian. So that $5 bill I found, Challenger, sees me right on my high horse. Do you see how I brought in my environment as I drove along my path? Except I'm not driving because I'm only traveling. There's no commercial activity. I got me traveling documents, and you see I've only had to use them once, and I tried to hand them to a man named Sean, who said no, thank you. Just reached into my document package and picked out the artificial documents, instruments of change, which is the conversion into ecclesial, private, public realms of the public respublica, of the public thing or the public affair. Did I share the respublica? Was what the republic was based on. Can you see you're gone? Is who you were before you came along and joined a crew that gave you a new identity. identity. And when you had that, you had to stop being what you were before the title was assigned to you. Maybe that is the T that marks the spot where life stopped, as it was before the time when it was asked witchcraft are you specialized in, was asked to those who were burned at the stake, that said you're a fake because you're part of the witchcraft coven or cult or clan or whatever you want to call the group that's come together. Witchcraft you specialized in, was the question asked those who died or were fried because they tried to do things outside the system. Well, outlaws were simply those who chose to be out of the domain of the sovereign, who claimed those who thought that they were safe with the trusted landlord, who would look after them and would see the dues that we accrue. Harvest fresh, harvest time, all natural, Canadian pinnacle is the prince's place. Naturally taste the possibilities, egg wrapper. If you wanna make your kitty purr, rub it good, ooh, but only on the hood. I'm not telling you how to do what's not my business to speak to. Restoration mate. Restoration mate goes by as I'm talking about masturbation. Why? Go Canada, go Canada, go Canada. It would be a very, very random experience to see. One who is simply connecting dots within the environment we're in, like I do. So I get it. Trans 99, logistics, baby, Panamex, Rolodex. Rolex, it actually says. But the Rolodex is the cast of characters we can call on to be part of our life. We are the cast of characters that can come together and create magic, so why don't we? If we are the creators or co-creators of the reality that we are calling ours, well then isn't it also our responsibility to actually craft a vision we want to live into? Is it not our responsibility to be like the bison or the buffalo that go through the center of the storm and realize that on the other side of that which we are most afraid of is everything that we wanted? The pinnacle is right there again. How? Wow. How many more signs could we possibly find as the hunter goes by and the compass? 369. This is what's on my mind. I want to find those of us willing to come together, be nice, and trust ourselves enough to have our own back, to the point of knowing that we could be part of the metaphoric 300. The Spartan warriors that defeated thousands as the pigs go by again, that are being driven to their slaughter, being driven because it is commercial indeed. That whole transactionary process of the farmer giving it to the middleman in order to take the pigs then to the slaughterhouse, which would be the end venue. It's all about the venue, or venier, which is in several of the auxiliary verbs, which are helper verbs, that actually change how the second verb is used in relation to je suis, which is the I am, the être, to be verbiage, you see. So what does that mean? Well, it means you've got the first person, second person, third person. And if you want to think about these pigs, using these pigs as a metaphor, which is so sick in some ways, and yet so naturalized, that we just talk about these pigs that were bred to be bled and sent to a butcher to be cut up and used as food. Worldwide carriers. That's what those pigs were bred for. So sure, why is it unjust for them to, or inhumane for them to go where they're going? Like, yeah, sure, we know it's not okay, or it's not really good, it's, it's a lot of pain. Like, the pig carries the pain and the pork and the meat, and then like we eat that pain, and then we feel fearful or anxiety, or like all of the things the pig felt before it was slaughtered. We feel that and eat that. Those things we don't talk about, generally speaking, because it's just like we just eat the meat, and especially if it's cheap, then we eat even more, because therefore we can't, right? Direct lin X, I change the subject, and I say I get that it was quite inappropriate, totally to challenge, just by commenting on how sick our modern slaughter practices for the animals that we eat and breed for that purpose. Oh, I talk about it matter of fact, because what am I going to get by letting it into me deeper when I know that I still eat meat? And so I'd say it's hypocritical that I've delivered this straight pan, so you can see that I'm desensitized, and I know I must do better. And yet, here I am, doing the best I can. And when I am done here, I will leave on a tram, like those pigs. Oh my, it's like these stories of concentration camps for the Jews in Woodlawn II. Part of me doesn't want to speak to real facts that have been hurting those who would not like to be clumped into a song about slaughterhouses. I'm sorry to be insensitive. Sorry, not sorry, Demi Lovato would say. She made a whole song about that. In fact, simply named it by that, so we know what it's about. I wouldn't know what this song would be called, except a whole bunch of truth told in a noose. There ain't one round my neck, but round the pigs. There's a figurative one, and around those Jews too, who are going to the concentration camps, and then we have created more of the same in a different way. Did you know the mind can be the same? If we're on a caboose going to the worst places on the moon, well, it's too soon for us to zoom in or out. Super fast is where we're asked to be ourselves, fully, authentically, even if we find it strange. So then most others would too, we know, and yet to release it is to be distinct, like me, who sings in too high an octave B. 'Cause it's not so much about the song for me, but message, but all elements count. So I hope you've enjoyed a different delivery of the words that I wanted to share with you, and I hope you did not suffer the higher notes too much. I don't want you to suffer at all. That's the souffle, which is the suffragettes who advocated for it to actually have rights that they hadn't had before, so that we who came after would have them too. And that's what we do when we care. Brilliant minds come together to find that we're the ones here to do what only we can. So let's do it well. The pigs come back in view. Now don't be confused. They surpassed me, seemingly for a while, and now I get back where the 4 points express show that they might know where they go, but they spent their whole lives locked up, like the elephant who was chained to a rod they couldn't remove when they were too young. And then when they grew to develop their strength to tear it out, they didn't know that they could, so they didn't even try, which is exactly why so many of us don't share our heart song when it's there, when we care. Now I've gone beyond the pigs. I'm not going north. I am not going north. I'm going southwest to where I was raised. And I'm so excited for this in-between time as I birth that which I've been chasing since November 22nd, 2022, or April 10th, 2021, when I got these summons that called me back to life. No, it wasn't nice to receive a summons to appear for a charge I didn't consent to. I never agreed to play in COVID-19, the certificate of death, identity death, AI, which is when we all lost the life we had before COVID began. You see, the certificate of X, identity death is where we get to see why Philander's Field is a great poem to be sung in union, where we can pay homage to those who fell for the sake of preachers who could tell a great tale about patriotism. I see Andy on the truck, and what it makes me think of is Black Suit Devil, whose song Preacher is gonna be used in the documentary we co-create, called How We Harmonized Us, or How We Did It for short. I'm not convicted of the name, I can be shorn of it all the same. If you can prove, would be better to use a different sign. It's like the bluebird, but it's orange instead. precious titanium. Yum yum, I say. How exciting. So, Andy, I can't do Ryko. Eleuterio has a band called The Blues Emergency, which I have their CD for here, and they performed as headliners for Gossipalooza 2024, which was awesome performance, gentlemen. And then on his own, he's got Black Suit Devil as well, with others who he works with, such as Scott, whose last name I can't think of, but he's an amazing fiddler. And I got to meet him at Coming Home Festival this summer, where I also met Andy of Black Suit Devil, who has the song Preacher that has not yet even officially had its official video recorded, but he's been sharing it because he's so passionate about the message within it. So I had to bring in that and give a shout out to Andy for what he's doing as one who is actually using the pseudonym for the archetype of the Black Suit Devil, who makes things look really good in the lead up to the slaughter, where you don't get paid what you were due because you got tipped along the way for coffees and things that you were told, don't worry about it. Well, you didn't get paid in the end, but you got treated with treaties along the way. And that's also where you get fed things that are not good for you. And it's pretty crazy. It's a crazy world. 35. My voice seems to be feeling hoarse. I think maybe I've just been singing too much and using crutches to walk, which means walking with a limp. I think it's interesting that the van's light is out on the right and the van, the CX5 CRV's out on the left, and they are matching in what they're lacking, which is like not noble gas partners, but chemical compound relationships, where what we lack is found in the other who's incomplete on their own and need you to compensate for their inadequacies and insecurities. Hot and bothered, what gets them riled up or triggered and snappy, that can be what is used against us until it's not, because we become noble gases who are complete and balanced and whole and fabulous on our own. And then we find another who is too. And then we stand together side by side. Airplanes overhead. We are being led inwardly instead of outwardly. The things we can see are the prizes we find to be the new way. What do you say? Will you change the label to be triumphant? Triumphant churches there of Jesus Christ, who was named otherwise while he lived. Yet he wasn't alive to contest it, so there were whole stories made about the man who lived well and who was then used to bring others to Christianity, which is the way, the hegemony, the dominant culture of the times prompted us to believe the meridians of our nervous system. Ooh, I wanna know about that. The meridian friends, who knows about meridians and could show me. I'd love for you to ground me with your knowledge. I'd appreciate it, and we can trade knowledge that's helpful, not just from here but down here. Do not fear the outlander, the outlier, the one who doesn't see the crazy in me as a problem. Royal Brothers is a way that we learn to play side by side without needing titles to do it. 3209, okay, I wanted to wrap it up by 3333. That's where I will be, ending me message, so I hope you see I'm your guy. Is on this side right before Fernbeck Place. The corporation industry produce factory. I needed to get off here and didn't realize until I did, and there was still time. Purer later goes before the fit me who came over together. Thank you, I appreciate you for letting me get off when I needed to without being confused. With my size and my power, I love knowing I can do what I set my mind to. 1, 2, 3, bye-bye.